Soul has been released in theaters. And so, today, we'll analyze the short film that reveals what happened before the events of the movie. Enjoy!
Ya llegamos.
Y esto es...
Al Preli.
Despite being praised by critics, Soul premiered on December 25th during the most traumatic year for humanity in the last decade.
I have crippling depression.
Because of this, and because Disney wants to make more money,
Hello, I like money.
Soul will be re-released in theaters on January 12, 2024. Not only that, but Turning Red and Luca will also receive this treatment, with their releases scheduled for February and March respectively. So, during these months, we'll be releasing videos related to these movies. And today, we'll be focusing on the prequel short of Soul, 22 versus the Earth.
But first, let's recap a bit. Soul centers around Joe Gardner, a musician whose lifelong dream is to play jazz professionally in front of a live audience. However, on the very day he gets the golden opportunity to make his dreams come true, he dies. The end. Okay, not really. Well, yes, he did die, but that's not the end of the movie, as Joe embarks on an adventure to return to his body on Earth.
The film was directed by Pete Docter, a Pixar veteran since 1990 and one of the studio's founding members. He has also directed other beloved films such as Monsters Inc., Up, and Inside Out.
Overall, the film received a very positive reception for its ability to tackle complex themes that resonate throughout all stages of life while remaining accessible to the entire family. It even won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature in 2020, although, well, Wolf Walkers deserved it too. Hashtag justice for Wolf Walkers.
Now, not everyone might be aware of this, but on April 30, 2021, Pixar released a 6-minute short titled 22 vs. Earth on Disney+. As the name suggests, the short focuses on 22, a cynical and rebellious soul who had no interest whatsoever in going to Earth, as she couldn't find a spark that motivated her to live a life on the planet.
But everything changed when 22 got the chance to spend a day in Joe's body, discovering the beauty in life on her own terms and finding joy in even the smallest things. However, as mentioned before, this short is set just before the events of the original film, so we don't see any human characters like Joe Gardner in it, focusing exclusively on 22's life in the great before.
The short begins with 22 trying to dissuade a soul she calls Neptune from going to Earth. She uses excuses saying that the Earth is dirty, wet, and smelly, suggesting that Neptune should stay with her and have fun. However, despite her efforts to deny it, it's obvious that 22 feels very lonely.
In response, Neptune cheerfully says that they themselves can now go to Earth. Jory confirms that they are correct, while another soul casually remarks that 22 has no reason to live. 22 clearly harbors resentment towards Earth as she believes that all it does is take away her friends.
For this reason, she comes up with the idea to counterattack, go against the system, and embrace anarchy. Thus, she begins kidnapping innocent souls for her sinister plan, causing chaos, preventing souls from wanting to go to Earth, and thereby finding some companionship.
Once 22 manages to gather 5 other souls, she takes them to her hideout, gives them all masks, and says,
I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
Nah, just kidding. Actually, 22 pitches her new idea to the souls she gathered, attempting to indoctrinate them to hate the moral plane as much as she does.
The name of this small organization that 22 forms is the Apocalypse, an acronym that stands for Anonymous Provocateurs and Other Culprits that are against leaving your friends to go to pathetic, stupid Earth.
With excitement, all the souls recruited by 22 make their way to the Hall of Everything, which is precisely the place intended to showcase everything Earth has to offer in order to help all souls find their spark. But before 22 executes her plan, she gives each soul a name: Macaroni, Simi, Peanut, Deepak, and Moonbeam, and then they all launch their attack.
The group of souls begins to steal everything they can, from musical instruments to explosives like dynamite.
Kaboom!
Yes, Rico. Kaboom.
In the midst of it all, Peanut steals a car and starts driving, and so we discover that Peanut is actually Toretto from Fast and Furious, as it is shown that their spark is actually driving. Therefore, Peanut heads straight for Earth, running over everyone in their path.
Although 22 is disappointed in Peanut, she tries to hide her feelings by stating that they weren't needed anyway, and that she's actually happy they left. Simi supports her, mentioning how they themselves are also glad about what happened. 22 responds, noting that Simi always agrees with her and has no original thoughts.
With even more enthusiasm, Simi joyfully claims that they are a follower. Right after Simi says this, they discover their spark, leaving the group and heading to Earth. Immediately after, the Joris appear out of nowhere and express that they are happy that 22 is in the process of making new friends.
The lonely soul tries to hide her plans, claiming that she actually didn't know the other souls and had never seen them in her life. One of them, Deepak, contradicts her, expressing their love for 22, but 22 tries to silence Deepak to go along with the story. Thus, Deepak retracts the statement, lying in front of the Jerrys and discovering their own spark, lying. As they leave screaming, "I love lying," Jerry says that Earth doesn't need more politicians.
Moonbeam, still trying to be rebellious and defy the system, starts fighting Jerry and, as expected, this makes them find their spark and heads towards Earth. After this, we see 22 in her lair, disappointed because her plan failed miserably as none of her friends seem willing to stay with her for an extended period. They always end up leaving her.
Macaroni, the last soul remaining, listens patiently to 22 and then proceeds to give her a hug to cheer her up. This is a really heartwarming moment because... And that's how Macaroni also ends up getting their ticket to Earth. 22 clearly gets upset and goes to the portal to Earth to throw Macaroni herself.
As a result of all that has happened, 22 reiterates what she mentioned at the start of the short, telling her that it always ends up taking away the souls that are important to her, but she will never visit the planet.
The Joris patiently watch everything unfold and continue to hold onto the hope that, perhaps, one day, 22 will go to Earth and find the true meaning of life. In response to this, the other Jerry ponders and asks the question of what the meaning of life is, as no one ever told him. The first Jerry is about to answer their companion's question when suddenly...
Oh, it's simple, really. We're all here for the purpose of...
The short transitions to the credits.
To finish off this recap, after the credits, there's an additional short scene where Jerry reacts to his companion's response. Showing a bit of disappointment, Jerry says, "Is that it? Sounds so banal when it's said out loud. Too bad, really."
Now, before we delve into our actual review and opinions, we would like to note some interesting facts we were able to gather from the short.
The director of this short film is Kevin Nolting, who had been working with Pixar for nearly 20 years since the production of Finding Nemo. Throughout that time, Nolting worked as an editor for the studio, and this marks his debut as a director in a production.
According to an interview with Nolting by Screen Rant, his opportunity to direct this short film came about in February 2020 following a meeting where the crew explored possible ideas to expand into a short, which are usually included in DVDs.
Typically, these projects are directed by whoever is in charge of the main film's story, in this case, Kristen Lester. However, she was working on her own short film within the studio at the time, Pearl. So the executives decided to entrust the responsibility to Nolting.
The short film was written by Josh Colley, who also worked on Toy Story 4 and Inside Out.
While at first glance, all the souls that 22 gather may seem identical, if we look closely, they have some subtle differences. Deepak has an irregularly shaped head, Moonbeam has a pointy head, Macaroni doesn't wear the mask over their eyes, Peanut's mask resembles a video game controller, and Simi's mask is slightly longer than Peanut's.
22's badge is not the same as the one seen in the movie. Previously, the missing piece for her spark was located in the bottom right corner, whereas in this short, it is in the center.
As for her personality badges, for the most part, they appear to be the same. A thumbs down expressing discontent, a watch for punctuality, a red horse, a green megaphone indicating that she doesn't like to stay silent, a cloud raining with a sun peeking behind, and an orange hand seemingly signaling stop.
However, in the short film, it looks like the hand was replaced for another badge that shows a painting brush. Nevertheless, the badge is not shown close enough in the short to make any definitive statements, so consider this to be mere speculation on our part.
Both the Hall of Everything and 22's Hideout seem to feature the exact same assets as in the movie Soul. Honestly, the number of Easter eggs that we can find here is insanely high, so be on the lookout for our future breakdown and analysis of the entire movie, which should be released in a couple of days, allowing us to discuss each detail with more calm.
Throughout the entire short, the souls struggle to say the word apocalypse correctly, and instead, they use the following phrases and words: a mocha trips, meaning crazy in trips, a pica feast, Apolomis, and Acapulcolis, with Acapulco being a beach in Mexico where we actually grew up.
Peanut's badge features a lyre, possibly representing harmony, an arm holding a mirror, perhaps indicating a bit of selfishness, a horse, a cup with a hot drink, a comet, a house, and of course, a car, to symbolize their newfound love for driving.
Simi's badge features a gable, likely symbolizing a sense of justice, a clock for punctuality, a unicorn, a paintbrush, a stop sign, what seems to be an anchor, and a ship.
Deepak has a cupcake, a camera, a tree leaf, a bell, a treble clef, a cat, and the badge denoting their fondness for lying has an elongated nose, referencing Pinocchio.
Macaroni's badge showcases a lucky clover, a crown, a ship, a caution sign, a snail, a trophy, and a teddy bear, as their spark is that they like giving hugs.
Lastly, we never get a close-up of Moonbeam's badge. However, in some scenes you can make out some of their drawings. Among these are a caution sign, what seems to be a muffin, what seems to be a turtle, a house, what appears to be an animal, perhaps a dog or a cat, and what we can guess is a trophy.
In our opinion, the short was a great compliment to the movie as it gave us a glimpse into what 22 used to do before meeting Joe Gardner. While Soul works perfectly without this short film, it's always interesting to delve a bit more into the universe of the movies and series we enjoy.
In the original film, it was already clear that 22 had no desire to go to Earth, considering it entirely unnecessary. However, it was really amusing to see how this feeling was further explored in the short film, with 22 taking an even more radical stance against Earth and seeking to overthrow the entire system around her.
Likewise, it was quite tragic how 22 was so passionately pursuing what seemed like an impossible goal, as every single thing around her contradicts what she's fighting for. Even when 22 tried to make other souls share her dislike for Earth, her so-called friends ended up finding their spark and going straight to Earth, leaving her behind in the process.
At the end of the day, all 22 wants is not to be alone and to have friends who support her and validate her ideas. However, ironically, it is precisely this quest for friendship that ends up motivating other souls to go to Earth. Despite this super sad premise, we won't lie to you. The truth is that the short film is really funny, and the way it tackles the whole issue genuinely made us laugh more than once.
Perhaps the funniest part happens at the end when one of the juries wonders about the meaning of life. This is a question that the Soul movie actually raises, but leaves the answer open to interpretation. This short actually seems to recognize how the movie addresses the question and pretends that's going to give us an answer, only to troll us immediately after.
Moving on to the short film's format, we think that its duration is just right. It's not too short to feel like there was a lack of exposition, nor too long to feel like it was unnecessarily prolonged. Perhaps our only complaint, and this doesn't even have to do with the short film itself, is that on the Disney Plus timer, it seemed like it was going to last longer, only to have about 3.5 minutes of credits, which actually reminded us of how we used to feel when we were kids, when we opened a bag of Lay's and discovered it was full of air.
In short, we feel that 22 vs. Earth doesn't really have any negative aspects to discuss. Even if you don't end up enjoying it, it's a little extra that adds more value to the platform, and if you already have a subscription to Disney Plus, you can watch it at no extra cost.
In conclusion, we really like the idea of exploring more of the movie's universe, without necessarily making a series or film around it. This concept of shorts isn't actually new. In fact, within Disney Plus, we have Pixar Popcorn, which are silent short films that are approximately 2 minutes long, offering additional insights into Pixar characters.
Actually, Soul already has one of these short films showcasing how the human characters from the movie go about their daily lives in the city, enjoying food, taking a moment to meditate, playing music, using public transport, etc., all accompanied by a pretty chill background music.
If this is a new direction that Disney is planning to pursue, we have some other ideas for themes to be explored in similar short films, of course, without spoiling the magical open ending of the original movie. For example, we could see exactly what happened to the soul of the cat whose body Joe possessed, or find out what happened to Dr. Juan, who was supposed to be 22's mentor. There are many possibilities, and if this doesn't limit opportunities for new creatives to bring original ideas to the studio, we think it could be something worth exploring.
If you like this video, please subscribe and watch this other video of ours that we think you like. We love you. Bye!